Greetings and welcome once again to the Gaming Codex, the show where I try to explain to you all the many words and terms used to describe video games and the video games industry. And today's term is that of Easter egg, since that was Easter a little while ago. According to the general definition, in computer software and media, an Easter egg is an intentional inside joke, hidden message or image or secret feature of a work. It's basically something that the developers put in there because they thought it would be fun if people found it, or even if they didn't find it. It's something that they put in there because they wanted to. Something that wasn't really a part of the game, wasn't meant to be a feature of it, but it's there. It's sort of like a signature, but more personal than that, because it's something that they crafted and placed inside there for people to sometimes see after usually going through numerous hoops to actually get there. One of the earliest Easter eggs known in video games is the one from the Adventure game for the Atari 2600 made by Warren Robinett. In it, the Easter egg was quite simple. It required a player to go through a bunch of hoops to unlock a room in which they could see the name of the creator of the game, Warren Robinett. Since then, Easter eggs have become a lot more complicated and usually involve a lot of jokes, or at least references to other games or previous games in the same series, or media in general. Now, why exactly they are called Easter eggs, that has a little bit more to it. It's basically Martin Luther's fault. Yeah, the guy that made the Protestant Christian reform thing a couple of centuries ago. Or at least he's blamed for coming up with the idea of the Easter egg hunt in relation to Easter and the Jesus. If you're not familiar with the habit, probably because you don't live in the Western Hemisphere, it's the idea that on Easter people will color eggs, which is something that a lot of us do everywhere, but then instead of displaying them or eating them, they hide them around so that others can find them, usually children. It's a tradition, it's a way of celebrating Easter, it's an event. And the search for them is akin to the search of an element of a game that's not supposed to be there, an Easter egg. Now, what is the popular definition? Well, that would be the best part. Pretty much everybody loves Easter eggs in video games because they tend to be really fun, or at least really creative. Just look at the reload animations that you will sometimes see in Battlefield. Those are a blast and they're amazing. They don't show up all that often. They're not meant to. It's the rarity that makes them valuable. And because Easter eggs, no matter what game they are, they tend to be funny, quirky, they will quite often be seen as a small redeeming feature of even a horrible game. They're not. No matter how funny they are, they're just a tiny little bit of a game that's not going to save a seeming pile of crap like Duke Nukem Forever, but they're there, so they at least make a few situations bearable. It's also important to note that the developer that takes the time to include Easter eggs, and I mean a lot of them, Easter eggs that aren't absolutely in your face but do require some bit from you, some effort, or at least require you to fully embrace the game, to fully explore it. They generally make really good games because you can see even in the Easter eggs there's a passion there for the game. There's a wonder to it. There's an attention to detail that you want to see from studios that will not put any Easter eggs in the game because they're overworked, underpaid, depressed, can't be bothered to actually have fun with their job. And I'm not saying that this is a general rule, but it's an observation of mine that games that are really well made tend to have quite a few Easter eggs in them. Sort of like the developer decided, you know what, we had fun working on this thing, let's mark the occasion. Or some might just go the other way, and because they're so spiteful and really hate their job, they shove rants about how the company they're working for is horrible. It's a spectrum is what I want to say. Now, what is the marketing definition of Easter eggs? Well, that would be achievements. You know, making an Easter egg, even plumping down a small model or inserting some bit of text, that takes time, that takes resources, that needs to be validated, that needs to be checked it doesn't infringe on something else, that needs to be verified it doesn't interfere generated with some other bit of code. But you know what doesn't? Achievements. So achievements sort of become the new Easter egg, one that's not as good. Now if you get an achievement for finding an Easter egg, yeah, that's something, but kill 1,000 enemies in a really boring game. Wow, that's an achievement. Oh, that was a secret achievement. Wow, that changes everything. Achievements are much easier to implement than an actual Easter egg, especially when they're tied into just the routine mechanics of a game. And I mean the basic routine mechanics, the boring mechanics of a game. Now if it's something that's a bit more involved, like, hey, you managed to beat the final boss of the game without ever throwing a punch. We know there's a way to do it, and we know now that you know a way to do it. So we gave you the achievement for it. That's something. Otherwise, kill 1,000 zombies. Wow, that's something. Thankfully, not everybody embraces the idea that achievements are a replacement of Easter eggs. A few do, which is horrible, but not everybody. So closes this edition of the Gaming Codex. Come back next time and we will talk about a brand new subject. Goodbye.